Early one morning, when the first rays of sunlight filtered through the forest canopy, two little cats, Cam and Xam Xit, were ready for their long-cherished picnic. Cam, with his orange fur as bright as the sunset, wore a fitted blue jacket and carried a small backpack filled with cookies and juice. His round eyes sparkled with joy, and his mouth kept singing a cheerful tune. "Oh, green forest, here I come. What adventure! I'm not afraid of." Next to him, Xam Xit, a cat with soft gray fur like mist, wore a slightly askew explorer hat and a bright orange jacket, looking both silly and adorable. Xam Xit's backpack contained all sorts of miscellaneous things, a compass, a hand-drawn map, and even a first aid kit that he always carried in case something happened. The two cats walked on a small path in the deep forest, where yellow flowers were scattered on both sides of the path, spreading a gentle fragrance in the air. The chirping of birds mixed with the rustling of leaves underfoot like a welcome song for the two little explorers. Cam hopped ahead, occasionally stopping to pick a yellow flower to put on his hat, while Xam Xit was slower, checking his map as he walked, muttering, "I guess I'm not lost yet." The first highlight came when the two stopped at the base of a giant ancient tree. Cam exclaimed, "Look, Xam Xit, this tree is as big as a castle." Xam Xit giggled, took out his compass and pretended to measure, then both lay on their backs on the grass, watching the clouds drifting slowly across the blue sky. It was a perfect moment of friendship, no worries, no rush, just pure joy in the vastness of nature. But that joy did not last forever. As the two cats continued their journey, Cam with his active personality decided to climb a large rock by the roadside to explore new heights. Xam Xit stood below, worriedly shouting, "Be careful, Cam, the rock is slippery." But Cam just laughed loudly, waving his hand. "Don't worry, I'm the king of climbing." Then, as if by cruel fate, he slipped. A swish sound was heard as his blue jacket got caught on a dry branch, followed by a tumble to the ground. Xam Xit ran over in panic, his eyes wide with worry. Cam lay on the grass, hugging his left leg, his face grimacing in pain. I'm fine," he said, but his voice was trembling and his eyes were glistening as if he was about to cry. Xam Xit knelt down beside him, quickly checking. A long scratch on Cam's leg was bleeding, and it seemed like he had dislocated his joint. The initially cheerful atmosphere suddenly disappeared, replaced by a heavy silence, with only the sound of the wind blowing through the trees. This is the second highlight, a moment that makes the listener's heart ache. Cam, the cat who is always bright and full of energy, now lies curled up weak. Xam Xit said nothing, just quietly placed his hand on his friend's shoulder, as if to give him some strength. Then he stood up, opened his backpack, and took out the first aid kit with slightly trembling hands. "Don't be afraid," Xam Xit whispered, his voice gentle but firm. "I will take care of you." Xam Xit was not the most skillful cat. He clumsily opened the first aid kit, dropping a few pieces of gauze on the ground, but his eyes did not leave Cam. He washed the wound with clean water from the bottle, carefully applied antiseptic, and then wrapped the bandage around his friend's leg. Xam Xit's every move was slow, as if he was afraid of causing Cam any more pain. Cam gritted his teeth and endured, but when he saw Xam Xit struggling to tie the bandage and couldn't finish, he burst out laughing. "How do you tie the bandage like a bow?" Xam Xit blushed and scratched his head. "Well, I've never done this before, but I'll try." Cam was touched by that statement. Despite the pain, he still held Xam Xit's hand and whispered, "Thank you, Xam Xit. With you here, I'm not afraid of anything." That was the third highlight, the moment when friendship overcame difficulties, where Xam Xit's clumsiness became the most adorable and sincere thing. Xam Xit decided to set up a temporary shelter right next to the trail. He used branches and dry leaves to make a small tent, then helped Cam sit down in the shade. The yellow flowers around seemed to lean over, spreading their fragrance to comfort the two little cats. Xam Xit took out some cookies from his backpack and divided them in half for Cam. "Eat, you need to regain your strength." The two cats sat there, eating cookies, watching the sunlight sparkle through the leaves, and even though the situation was not as expected, they still found joy in each other's presence. As the sun gradually set in the west, Xam Xit decided it was time to take Cam home. He carried his friend on his back, walking slowly along the trail. Cam leaned against Xam Xit's shoulder, whispering, "I'm sorry for ruining the picnic." But Xam Xit shook his head. "It's not ruined. Being with you is enough fun." Those words were like a warm ray of sunshine, warming Cam's heart amidst the pain and fatigue. The trail with yellow flowers is now not only a beautiful scene, but also a witness to the strong friendship of the two cats. The final highlight is the image of Xam Xit carrying Cam under the sunset, their small figures printed on the green forest background like a perfect picture of loyalty and sacrifice. As darkness gradually fell over the forest, the last sunset gave way to the twinkling stars in the sky. Xit and Cam finally returned to their cozy little house, where the lantern hanging on the porch emitted a gentle yellow light, as if welcoming the two explorers back after a long day. Xit carefully placed Cam Cam on the soft armchair, pulled a thin blanket over his legs, and quietly made a cup of warm milk. Cam Cam, though still in pain, smiled weakly. "You are the best friend, Xit." Xit scratched his head, embarrassed. "Come on, don't say that. I just did what I had to do." But in his heart, happiness quietly spread. He pulled a chair to sit next to Cam Cam. Both of them looked out the window, where the last yellow flowers of the day were hidden in the darkness. The chirping of crickets mixed with the gentle wind like a gentle lullaby, soothing all the fatigue of the trip. That night, when Cam Cam had fallen asleep with steady breathing, Xit quietly opened his backpack, took out a yellow flower he had picked up on the way back. He put it in a small notebook and scribbled, "The day of adventure with Cam Cam, the day I knew you were more important than all the treasures in the forest." Then he smiled, saying to himself, "When you get better, we will return to that trail. This time, I will not let you climb rocks anymore." The story ended with the image of two little cats, a peaceful dream by the lantern light, and a silent promise of new trips. Life is sometimes like a picnic with two little cats. There are joys, there are challenges, and there are moments when we realize who really matters. I hope that through this story, you will find a little light, a little hope, and maybe a smile in the midst of your busy days. Thank you for your time, for giving me the opportunity to tell this story. Keep the friendship, keep the yellow flowers in your heart, and see you again on a new adventure.